Bum 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 boom. Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome to the stream. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. Welcome aboard if you've just joined. Apologies for my inevitable delay. I set the timer too soon because I needed to get stuff set up before I jumped on. But obviously it's very hot out today. Can I just say, like, I've got a fan going on low, so if you hear any background precipitation, that might be the reason. I've also got a window open, so apologies if there's any sound bleeding in or anything, but there's got to be some air coming into here because bloomin' heck, it's hot. It's very, very hot. It is very hot, faulty TARDIS. I'm very much in the similar boat. I'm literally having to have a fan and a window open, along with all of you fans. Get it? But in all seriousness, yeah, it is absolutely boiling. But let's just say hello to everyone in the chat. Who's in the chat at the minute? We've got 34 people already, which is great to see, of course. We've got Crichton, the LFZ, the Idiot, alternate 13th, Crazy Walker, Sky, the Artemis, alternate 13th, Team Torchwood, Michael Papangalu. I'm so sorry. I am very, very sorry about that. If I butchered that, I think I did. Paul Malley, Michael Q, KK. That was dangerously close to saying something that should never be said. 3 question marks. Lamperson, Bradley TV. I think I've got everyone. Hello to everyone. Welcome aboard. I hope you're all doing okay. We've had some interesting new news bits. I've got some stuff to talk about that I'd like to talk about. So yeah, I mean, if we're all ready, we might as well get into it. Obviously, if you haven't already, please do like the stream. That would be ever so much appreciated. And yeah, we'll just get into the news items, shall we? I'll do my regular... actually, I need to double check the window capture's all working. Here we go. Get it on the right page. And then here we go. Boop, 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 boop. That's the wrong thing. That's not good. Boop. There we go. Okay. There we go. So we have to start the stream with some very unfortunate news. This happened just shortly after the last stream concluded. I believe it was just the day after. Unfortunately, the unfortunate passing of Tony Selby happened just a few days ago. Most known, obviously, Doctor Who-wise for playing Sabalon Glitz in the 80s, alongside the 6th and 7th Doctors. DoctorWhoNews.net did a brief write-up on him. The actor Tony Selby has died at the age of 83. Toby Selby had a long and illustrious career spanning more than 70 years, and appearing on stage, on television, and in films. He played the role of Sabalon Glitz in 3 Doctor Who stories in 1986, appeared alongside 6th Doctor Colin Baker in the first section of Trial of a Time Lord: The Mysterious Planet. The character returned to the conclusion for the conclusion to the season in The Ultimate Foe. The following year he returned to the series, this time appearing with the 7th Doctor Sylvester McCoy in Dragonfire. Born in 1938, Selby trained at the famous Italia Conti Stage School. One of his first appearances was in TV play Menicus, was a bad boy appearing as Pig at the age of 13. Over the next 70 years, he would be a constant presence on TV appearances in programs such as Compact, No Hiding Place, The Wednesday Play, Shine a Light, Z-Cars, Catweasel, Ace of Wands, Minder, Crown Court, The Good Life, Moody and Peg, Jack Diamonds, Hideaway, Mulberry, Love Hurts, The Detectives, and the Bill and Dream Team. One of his most memorable roles was as Corporal Marshall on the ITV sitcom Get Some In, about life in the National Service. He appeared on EastEnders playing Clyde Mitchell. On the stage, he appeared in the original production of Edward Bond's controversial play Saved at the Royal Court Theatre. Film work included the roles of The Name We Can't Say on YouTube, My Part in His Downfall, and Alfie, as well as the uncredited role in Superman. Tony Selby's death was announced by his management, LCM Limited. In a statement, they said, I won't read out the whole statement, but you can read it there. So yeah, a very sad sort of starting piece of news. Like, this happened literally, I believe, the day after the last stream concluded. And obviously, there was some confusion around his passing a few months back, with another Tony Selby who worked within the industry passing away first, and unfortunately, shortly after, the other Tony Selby regretfully passed away. So very sad. Rest in peace, Tony Selby. Loved Sabalom Glitz. He's one of those characters that I think is really good conceptually, and I wouldn't mind seeing something like him again, sort of an outer space wheeler dealer archetype. I kind of like that. But getting on to some more light news, BBC wished happy birthday to Casualty, and along with that, I'll see if I can just get the Doctor Who clip. There we go. I'll play it a bit with audio so you can hear the little bit from Jodie Whittaker as the 13th Doctor. There you go. That was, I think it says later on from everyone else at Doctor Who as well. If I just, sorry to any casual fans because I'm just skipping to the Doctor Who bits, but I know that's probably what you guys want to see. There you go. So yeah, 35 years of Casualty, and Doctor Who got involved in celebrations, which I think was nice. It's just a little bit of new footage, you know, we got to take what we can get these days, you know, so thought I would at least make mention and notice of that. But yeah, happy birthday to Casualty as well. Right, now this is where it's going to get really interesting. This is where a lot of the I guess there was a lot of controversy around this next topic. So, of course, we all know John Bishop appeared on BBC Breakfast to promote his tour, not Doctor Who specifically, but naturally the topic of Doctor Who did arise, and I'm just going to put it on full blast so we can listen to it, and I can give my thoughts, because I haven't really given my thoughts on this yet.
One thing I have been doing, which is Doctor Who, I've not been able to tell anyone.
Oh no, yeah. So what can you tell us then?
Not a lot. I got told off. The BBC have this kind of thing because there's a storyline. I got told off on one aspect because I did a Zoom talk with some acting students in Liverpool, and they were saying, "Can you tell us anything about the character?" And I said, "Well, there's not. I don't know what you want to know." And he said, "Well, is he from Liverpool?" And I said, "Yeah." And then it got onto some Whovian website all the characters from Liverpool. And the BBC press office phoned me up and said, "Shouldn't have done that. You've give a secret away." And I said, "How good an actor do you think I am?" I didn't give anything away.
One thing I'll say very quickly is that John Bishop, he has got some great charisma. I will be interested to see what he does with it.
Nobody was expecting anything else.
Expecting you to be from Scotland or something.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't going to come in and be from the Bronx, was I? It's going to be me in Doctor Who. One thing.
Alright, so that was the main clip. I think there is, if I double check actually, a second clip. But to give you my thoughts on that first clip, he's told this story a couple times before. I can't find it now. There was a second clip that I'm almost sure of it on BBC Breakfast. But he told the story about him basically being told off. Oh yeah, here's the second clip. So we'll cover that in a sec. But he told the story about him basically telling a bunch of students that he was from Liverpool. He's told that before. There is a slight difference in that story as to how he tells it. As far as I'm aware, he did divulge a little bit more than that. And the Whovian website, I believe, was Cultbox, which does cover other things. But yeah, he's told this story before. And to just give my thoughts on this whole controversy a little bit, I think a lot of people, when this whole thing happened, misconstrued people's disappointment that we weren't getting like enough news over people hating this interview specifically, and people saying that things like, "Oh, he wasn't there to promote Doctor Who." And generally, I don't think that's the point that that people were making. I think the point that people were trying to make was that this whole Chibnall secrecy thing, where people can't seem to say anything anymore about the show, I think it's gone a bit too far at this point. And I think that was where I stand with it. Not necessarily that this interview was the problem, but it sort of symbolises a larger problem in my mind of Chibnall era secrecy. And I think that's the major problem facing Doctor Who's marketing at the minute. I think the whole secrecy thing is doing the show more harm than it is any benefit, because that realistically there is nothing to really get hyped over. The trailer shows barely anything. The news we get is stuff like this where it's pretty much there's nothing to say. And look, I understand not wanting to know major plot details, I understand not wanting spoilers, and I understand as well that like people's definitions of spoilers, it varies from person to person, but to me, I think you've got to be able to say a little bit more than, I'm Dan from Liverpool. He also talks about being a plasterer a bit later on. But that is literally all we know about Series 13, like one of the few things we know about it. And I just get to the feeling that more needs to be being done. And I think, yes, I'm not saying we should go back to the Moffat levels of, right, reveal everything, get everything out there. For example, with John Sim as the Master, that whole reveal. Things like, Twice Upon a Time, where they released a trailer for a Christmas special in July. I don't really think we need to get back to that, but I think there needs to be a middle ground, and I think Davies actually, for me, strikes that middle ground really well, where you see things like the Daleks, and you see things like the Sontarans in things like the Series 4 trailers and stuff, but they don't give you any of the context as to why they're there. So, when you get to the series, or when you get to the trailer, I should say, you're still wondering, why are they back? What's this for? So it still creates questions whilst giving you something of substance to talk about. Whereas with the current marketing approach, it just sort of feels like the bare minimum to me. And don't get me wrong, to this series' credit, there are some trailers I quite like. Most notably, I think the Series 12 trailer does what I'm talking about. It shows the Jadoon. It shows Ashad, the lone Cyberman, but it doesn't give you the context. The only issue with the Series 12 trailer for me was that it was too little too late by that point. I think the Series 12 trailer, I want to say, came out, it can't have been more than 2 months before the series aired, and obviously the release date trailer, I believe, was a month before the series aired. And this is my thing, I think there needs to be more spread across a year as well. I think Find the Doctor is a great jumping on point. I think that's a really nice way of getting fans talking about the show, but it can't be, in my view, the only thing. So yeah, I think that's what people's major frustration is with interviews like this. It's not necessarily this interview in isolation, but more so the secrecy approach as a whole. I understand that people like that, but again, I think there's a difference between revealing every plot element ever and revealing, just enough to get you interested. I'd be interested, though, to hear your thoughts on this in the chat, though. What are we all thinking? I used to think Chibnall was holding back on leaks, my favourite word, because he hadn't written any episodes yet. Obviously not, because the latest series is almost entirely in the can. Yeah, this is the thing. I don't understand the point in hiding things like the Weeping Angels, hiding things like the Sontarans, when we all know, they're coming at this point. I don't really understand the point in playing coy, being like, yes, I think we can say that, old villains are in it. We know old villains are in it. You're not saying anything new here. You're literally, I think there's such a thing as, knowing your audience, and I think if the BBC were aware of their audience, they'd know that we already knew that the Weeping Angels and Sontarans were in it. So at that point, why hide it? You know what I mean? I've heard about this Find the Doctor by watching these lives, but I haven't found any of it online. It's basically, it's like a sort of ARG, so it's an alternate reality game where you sort of piece together clues to find the Doctor, and it's meant to culminate in something. That's the thing as well I will say about Find the Doctor. If the end result of Find the Doctor, I think, doesn't deliver on fans' expectations, it doesn't give them something substantial, I think that might taint the actual Find the Doctor thing itself. Yeah, no, that's very true. The new or casual fans, that's what I mean. I wrote a tweet about this the other day. I'll read that out to you. Hang on, if I can get it up on my Twitter account. By the way, if you haven't already, do follow me on Twitter. I'd ever so much appreciate it. At Tharries YT. But if I scroll down a bit, I think it's a bit further down, bit further down, bit further down. Bit further down. Here we go. This was my tweet from the other day. I'm going to be honest, if I didn't follow Doctor Who news closely, I would have no idea that a series was going to be out next month. As we think it is, because given that we've seen Pumpkins in filming. Series 11 aired in October. It's highly likely that Series 13 is airing next month. You wouldn't think so, though, with just, the little amounts of marketing. And I followed that up by saying, I just wonder what it's like for a kid who likes this era, who perhaps doesn't take the time to really read news articles or search for leaked pictures. Besides from that trailer that hasn't even aired on TV, to my knowledge, and has no date, it might be hard to stay invested. And that's kind of how I feel. I think you've got to remember that there are kids who follow this show who aren't going to want to read articles, who aren't going to want to sit and scour through little tiny bits of information. And I think you've got to offer something for them, but I just don't think that that's a thing anymore. There's not a lot for a kid fan, I feel, to get excited about. Because, let's face it, in terms of Doctor Who's big marketing pulls, the monsters are that. They are the things that, people go to Doctor Who to see and are familiar with. The Weeping Angels, I think people underestimate how iconic, the Weeping Angels are among, British culture. I feel like most people know what a Weeping Angel is. They're in that same level as Daleks and Cybermen to me. So I think showing one of them in a trailer would have done them a great deal to just build some hype. And I know that they might do that in the release date trailer, but in my mind that's too late. The hype around this series just seems to be non-existent in my mind. And part of that is definitely down to the way it's being marketed. And I just hope that with, the new showrunner and the new regime, that ban on, any news at all gets lifted a little bit. But let's watch the second clip about him talking about his plasterer job. I can give my thoughts on that as well.
You can tell us, so you are the companion?
I realised I didn't
We're now called friends.
Okay.
Right. So I'm the Doctor's friend.
Don't we know your name as well? Are you
Dan.
Dan, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Dan Lewis. And I'm a plasterer from Liverpool.
And at what point are the BBC press office going, what?
Yeah, plasterer!
Plasterer!
Right, you said plasterer! God, now all the Hooverans are going out plastering things because of you.
I will admit, I do. I can't help but smile. John Bishop is just, he seems like a lovely guy. He does seem a little bit, I don't know what the word is, perhaps embarrassed by Doctor Who. I get that vibe slightly, or maybe it is just because he can't say anything and he's just nervous. But yeah, I don't know. I agree with, I think Mr. TARDIS said it last night when I was on his stream. Go watch that if you haven't already. But I agree to the point that I think this level of secrecy makes the show look kind of silly. Someone summarized it best on Twitter earlier, actually, and I can get that up as well. I'm sorry, this is kind of the Twitter show, but you'll get used to that. If I go here, someone summarized it as Chibnall treats everyone like he's Kevin Feige, when he's got no secrets that are worth keeping that close to his chest. And I genuinely think that's one of the most accurate representations of the way Doctor Who's being marketed. It's being marketed like Marvel stuff, but without, for lack of a better term, there's no reason for it to be marketed like that. They aren't big blockbuster films. It's a kids' sci-fi show. I know it's a family show, but you know what I mean. Ultimately, if Doctor Who's taken too seriously, it just looks silly to an outside observer, And I think that comment there about it being treated like Marvel kind of best summarizes that. But even like Marvel, if you look at things like the No Way Home trailer, even that shows things like, obviously, you see, stuff, you see Doc Ock, you see, a pumpkin bomb that implies Green Goblin. In those trailers, you see things, Whereas, in the Series 13 trailer, it's, even less. And I understand that someone did point out to me, I believe I was talking to Confused Adipose about this, that, some things, when you're editing a trailer, they are story-specific. So you don't necessarily want to spoil those things. And while I do understand that to a point, I think if you've got 6 hours of footage, surely you can show more than just shots of the cast. Yeah, I didn't mean to call Doctor Who a kid show, but you get my point. It's not, if you treat it like a big, blockbuster and you treat it with ultra secrecy and seriousness, it just looks a bit silly, Doctor Who is more secretive than Marvel, which is just stupid. We had a trailer for Loki 3 months before it came out. Exactly. I completely agree. But yeah, what was the next little thing? The idea of him being on plaster again. I think that was kind of implied by the reveal trailer, so it doesn't really give a lot away. But of course, it's interesting info nonetheless. So we did have an article about this though. I think it was Cold Box again. Doctor Who Series 13 new information from John Bishop. New information about episode 1 of Series 13 was revealed by John Bishop in a Zoom interview. I think this was old, actually. This was the actual Zoom interview that was referenced in that recent interview. And he did speak about the Sontarans and his parents as well, played by Paul Broughton and somebody else. I can't remember the other actor's name. But I did do a video on everything we know about Series 13 so far, which goes into more detail about that. So if you haven't seen that, I would suggest it. But yeah, this was just the interview that he was referring to with, I think it was like a college or a uni. And as you can see, the best opportunity is always thank you. And then EMAU official. So yeah, very cool stuff. Doesn't give away much, obviously. But something that is interesting is just been told by my wife that her friend is down at Bristol Harbour today. This is by JWC Reviews with her husband. And they are filming Doctor Who there. Couldn't get anywhere near the filming, but saw cast and trailers allegedly. Might be BS, but might not. Took this crap picture, and as you can see there, you can see the filming trucks. If anything, it does bear a likeness to when that that Dalek special was filming, because when we saw Nicholas Briggs, it kind of looks a bit like that. Maybe it's a similar location. I'm not too sure. But we got a follow-up picture to this. Possible Doctor Who filming location unknown, Bristol, 6th of September 2021. So this was yesterday. So I'm on it today. I'm on it like a... What's the phrase? On it like a Scotch bonnet. Is that the right word? I don't know. There was no film unit there the previous afternoon. And there was only a truck there that left after 5 p.m. So yeah, there's another picture. Again, doesn't give away a lot. Now, to be fair, I believe War of the Worlds is filming in Bristol as well. Can you tell me where this is in Bristol? So apparently, they're filming near Bristol Bridge, which is very interesting stuff. Again, Doctor Who production news there. But again, War of the Worlds continues filming in Bristol today. So to be fair, some of the filming could be for that. However, if there's two different film sets, it's highly likely that Doctor Who could also be filming in Bristol. It wouldn't be out of the ordinary for them to film in Bristol. They did with Revolution of the Daleks with Bristol Suspension Bridge. They had the Daleks going across that. So yeah, very very exciting. Obviously, if they are filming now, it could well be for the centenary. I believe in that interview that John Bishop gave as well, he said that they are still filming. If I get it back up.
Dan, okay. Dan Lewis, and
I don't know which one he says it in, but I'm pretty sure I heard him say that they were still filming, and I think Jodie on her Radio 6 interview said the same as well. So yeah, interesting filming stuff. Obviously, no idea what it could lead to. Until we start to see like unit soldiers and stuff, then we can start making guesses about what it is. Car bonnet, thank you. I don't know why I said Scotch bonnet. That was even the initial Series 12 trailer was much better than the Series 13. I agree. Yeah, it shows your unit, really gives you an idea about what's going on, what Series 13 is going to be about. Yeah, I agree completely. Completely agree. And I guess the final unfortunate bit of news, very unfortunate. I'm getting this directly from Nerd Den, but the original clip is from. Let me double check where it's from. So the original clip was from Christopher Eccleston Q&A at DragonCon on September 5th. As you can see, this has accumulated almost 1,000 views. Just let it speak for itself. I believe we've got all the sound on. Yeah, we do. All good. All good in the neighbourhood, right. So if I play this here.
Would you pretty please...
In fact, I'll put the
60th anniversary. That's very doubtful. You know, my relationship with the BBC.
Oh, that's not very good subtitles.
Doctor Who is not healed. It hasn't. You know, I hope this never happens to you. But at the time of my leaving, I agreed with Russell that I would go quietly and in terms of publicising it. And then, without saying anything to me, they announced that I was leaving. They didn't tell me they were going to do that. I was walking down the street and suddenly I got quite a lot of aggression. And more importantly, they should have said it. They created a quote and they attributed it to me, which said I was tired. Now the thing is about that, I found it too tiring. I didn't find it too tiring. I found it too tiring working with Russell and Phil and Julia. I didn't find it physically too tiring. When they said that, any other producer reading that would go, oh, we're not going to employ Chris Eccleston because he gets tired. So it was a lie. And it was in quotation marks. And I'm from Salford. You don't do that to me. So they issued a kind of apology, but it's not enough. So no. But I'll do Big Finish and I'll come to these conventions.
So, yeah, as you can see there, I think there's some really interesting stuff to that interview. Oh dear, apparently we've had some lag. Apologies for that. But yeah, I hope that came through, but essentially, Christopher Eccleston talks about why he will not be coming back to Doctor Who for the 60th, and likely anytime soon, essentially, at this convention. And there's some really interesting stuff that I wasn't aware of, particularly with regards to them making a quote with regards to Chris Eccleston talking about how they basically said that he got too tired, which according to him is kind of like a death note for like an actor's career, because they won't employ someone who gets too tired. So, yeah, I had no idea that happened. I don't know whether any of you did. But I think I think it does reflect badly on the BBC that they didn't apologise properly. They literally sabotaged his career, according to this. And I'd never be for that. Ultimately, yes, would I like to see Christopher Eccleston return for the 60th? Of course I would. But ultimately, if he doesn't feel comfortable with the idea of returning, I don't think we as fans should keep pressuring Eccleston to come back. There's very clearly some stuff there that hasn't been resolved in the proper way, and I don't blame Christopher Eccleston at all for not coming back after what was done to him. I think, as I said, there are some things that are more important than pleasing fans, and I feel as though ultimately staying true to yourself is one of those things. And he says there he'll do Big Finish and he'll do conventions, and to be honest, even that is something that I think not many of us even expect to see in our lifetimes. So I think we should just be grateful that we get that. Obviously, yes, it's sad that Chris Eccleston won't return, but as I say, I don't blame the guy. The more and more that's come out with regards to the production of Series 1, I think the more and more I've understood Chris Eccleston leaving and why he's I think it was very popular to blame him when it initially happened, because let's face it, that's kind of what the BBC did. But the more and more we found out about his troubled production and some of the dodgy things, shall we say, that went on during Series 1 production, the more and more I'm just I really don't blame the guy for walking away. And we know that things went on in his personal life as well, which I won't get into for his sake, obviously, because I don't want to talk about an actor's personal life to an audience of nearly 100 people. I think that's insensitive of me to do. But I really don't blame him, is what I'm saying. And let's see what your guys are saying. I don't blame Eccleston. He didn't deserve any of this. And think he would be the most popular Doctor if he just stayed until Series 4. As he would have taken over Tennant's role. Yeah, could well be true, but Series 1 had some really shady characters. Barrowman, Adams, Noel Clarke, etc. Exactly, that's the thing. As much as people like to say, oh, it's Canscott, it's all of this, but all of that going on at once, it must have not been the most professional work environment. I can imagine that being if I knew that was going on and I was the lead of a show that would frustrate me to no end, and that would, that wouldn't want me, I wouldn't want to carry on in that environment, So I don't really blame him at all for walking away. It's obvious that he really loves the character, and the BBC really did him dirty. At the end of the day, if Chris doesn't feel comfortable with working with the BBC, he's entirely in his right to. I completely agree. Like, again, even in the recent comment section for this re-upload, I'm not going to name any names, obviously, but there were people saying he was being petty, and I disagree with that, like, completely and utterly. I think he as well as within his right, as I say, to not want to work with BBC after all that. Also, that was a really shitty situation. The BBC were planning to announce anything for the Series 1 regen. It was leaked to the press. But that's no excuse to make up a quote for him. I agree completely. I don't know why YouTube keeps saying it's not receiving enough information. None of you seem to be saying that there's any issues, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. From what I've heard about the BBC blacklisted productions with them for like 5 to 10 years after 2, which is just disgusting, I agree. The more I found out about the situation, the more I really do sympathise with Chris Eccleston. I think as time's gone on, and like people, I think Chris Eccleston is one of those people who, he speaks his mind, and to be fair, for some people that does rub people the wrong way. But ultimately, I really respect the guy for it. It's something that I try to do, with what I do online. Obviously, it's nowhere near the level of someone like Chris Eccleston, but I always try and, stay true to myself and how I feel. It's why I've never done like any like paid sponsorships or so. But like, or if I ever got sent anything, I would still be like 100% honest with the product, because that's something I really value, is being true to yourself. And I think that it's just a shame, I think, that he was sort of demonized for that. I don't know, it's just, I think Chris reacted the right way. It must have been really hard to work with all that stuff going on. I feel bad for the guy. I'm in the complete same boat as you are. I think it's just a really shit situation all around. But yeah, like, that's about all the news items that I was going to cover. There were bad lags while you were playing the dragon clip. Shall I play it again for anyone who hasn't seen it? Would that be beneficial? I'll play it one more time just in case there was lag, so you guys can hear it.
Would you, pretty please with sugar on top, come back for the 60th anniversary?
I think that's very doubtful. My relationship with the BBC...
He says doubtful there, by the way, not helpful.
It was not healed. It hasn't, I hope this never happens to you, but at the time of my leaving, I agreed with Russell that I would go quietly and respectfully, and I would look after the show in publicity-wise, in terms of publicising it. And then, without saying anything to me, they announced that I was leaving. They didn't tell me they were going to do that. I was walking down the street, and suddenly I got quite a lot of aggression. And more importantly, they should have said it. They created a quote, and they attributed it to me, which said I was tired. Now the thing is about that, I found it too tiring. I didn't find it too tiring. I found it too tiring working with Russell and Phil and Julia. I didn't find it physically too tiring. When they said that, any other producer reading that would go, oh, we're not going to employ Chris Eccleston because he gets tired. So it was a lie. And it was in quotation marks. And I'm from Salford. You don't do that to me. So they issued a kind of apology, but it's not enough. So no. But I'll do Big Finish, and I'll come to these conventions.
So yeah, that's the entire clip there. For anyone who hadn't seen it the first time, because we had some lag, hopefully you all got it that time. But yeah, it's just a really horrible situation. I mean, the question will follow him until he passes away, especially when he does Big Finish. I honestly don't think it should, though. I feel like, yeah, we did. It just apparently lagged out for some people, so for those people's benefit, I was just replaying it. But I don't think we should keep pestering him now. He's made it very clear he doesn't want to come back. I would implore at least the people watching this stream, if you could, don't keep asking or like mentioning it or bringing it up. He's made it very clear in multiple interviews. I said before, there's actually, I'll get the Lorraine clip. He kind of makes it clear on Lorraine as well that like he didn't want to come back, but people said then that, oh, he didn't say that directly. He basically did. I know that people want him to come back. I had this a while ago. If I scroll down, I re-uploaded a clip from Lorraine basically talking about this. Here we go. So here was the clip from Lorraine, in case anyone hasn't seen that.
Such a good doc.
But yeah, I thought it was pretty clear then when he said only when hell freezes over would he come back. But people said then, no, he didn't say that directly. Come on. That was basically him saying it then. But I think this Comic-Con interview kind of just acts as an extra bit of confirmation for any of you who like were unsure, essentially. I just think at this point we should just leave him be, you know, don't keep pestering him with it at conventions and stuff. If that's the one thing I can give any advice to, just don't do that, you know. Chris is great. I honestly really appreciate how open he is about his views and what he's been through. Me too. I really respect that about him. And it's what I try to be. Like, if I ever get any level of success, you know, I would always try and do the same, you know. I'm going to be very frank about things. Which obviously some people don't like, and some people prefer it when people are all squeaky clean. I personally prefer it when celebrities can be honest. I really value it as a trait. I mean, I value it in any person, but I think he... all important news comes from Lorraine Kelly. That was the most passive-aggressive interview I've ever seen. Yeah, like, I think he's made his mind pretty clear at this point. I don't think he's going to come back. And, I wouldn't force him to. I think it's very likely that we could see, you know, Tennant and Smith come back. Actually, speaking of that, I don't know, I was stumbled upon an interview from 2019 where David Tennant said, yeah, he's more than happy to come back if he gets a call. So, you know, you've got that, you've got possibly Matt Smith. I just think at this point, you know, leave Eccleston alone. He's made his issues very clear. I just don't think it's necessary to keep hounding him with stuff. Actually, there is one more thing I would like to point out. This is a bit more call-outy, I suppose would be the word, than what I would normally do on a live stream, but in this case I think I'm willing to make an exception. Ian Levine, in his criminal effort to go down in history as the worst Doctor Who fan, has tried to stir up Twitter once again with this tweet that reads, and I quote, now I'm going to really upset people. Doctor Who is going to be arrested for 5 years because the BBC will not admit that they got it horribly wrong by casting a woman doctor and hiring Chris Chibnall, the worst producer of all time. Tragically, there will be no 60th anniversary special. Again, no evidence for this, really. He doesn't cite anything. It's just conjecture, complete conjecture from him. And look, I'm not a big fan of the era, but ultimately, I think to imply that the reason it's perhaps not as successful is because of the casting of the woman, I think that's complete tosh, honestly. You know, I think ultimately, while it's not been my favourite era, we can't deny that, you know, the opening episode did have record-breaking numbers. I think to a point, you know, we can never truly know how the BBC feels about its viewing figures. Only the BBC knows that, truly. But I just think that making posts like this, it's not helpful, it's not constructive, you're just causing... And again, tragically, there will be no 60th anniversary special. We don't know that. You know, he'll probably say that he has sources on it, but again, like, until he says as much, you know, he knows just about as much as the rest of us do. Just because he released an album in the 80s doesn't make him an authority, you know? I hate posts like this because it's just so deliberately just riling people up for no reason. Luckily, most people saw through this whole thing. But yeah, I thought it at least necessary to call out Ian Levine a little bit. Didn't this guy produce Doctor in Distress? He did. And then he felt the need to complain. And you know what I mean? Like, I find it funny, the guy who created Doctor in Distress, you know, gets to now be an authority on what quality is, you know? You know what I mean? I think it was, you know, yeah, I don't know, you are the king of all Whovians. I'm not going to say that, you know? I'm just someone who says their opinion. I'm just an idiot online. I'm just a guy. Don't treat me as any higher than anyone else. I'm just a guy. Ultimately. I rewatched NBC's Heroes recently and saw that Claude Rains was Eccleston, and I popped so big. Oh, really interesting. I didn't know that. As I've said before, a 5-year hiatus would be good. I disagree. I think a hiatus is the last thing the show needs right now, personally. I think it needs to be firing on all cylinders. I think if the next era, whatever it may entail, if that struggles, then I think you can start talking about a hiatus. But I think right now, I don't think we're there yet. Looking at Big Finish's output, we will probably hear him alongside 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10. So we can get a great multi-Doctor special with him, and it'll be fantastic. True, he might be willing to do a multi-Doctor story with Big Finish, because he seems to have a lot more positive things to say about Big Finish than he does the BBC itself. Obviously, Big Finish is a licensee of the BBC, not, the BBC itself. So I think that's why he's more open to doing Big Finish. This dude obviously pulled every word from the deepest depth of his arse and threw it out. Yeah, essentially. And I just don't think it's helpful to anyone at all, really. But I thought, it'd be funny to point that out. Actually, while we're on the topic, one more funny thing to point out from one of these people. And it's someone who, again, I mean, look, Ian Levine, I don't really get, why he's even held to a high level. He made Doctor in Distress and hoarded a bunch of classic episodes. He's really not the guy we should be idolizing here, you know what I mean? There's a reason, RTD based Victor Kennedy off him. Where's Philip Morris's account? I don't know if it's still up, but basically he did a post talking about how basically, there was like I can't even really explain it without getting the tweet. It was just so silly, but if I just scroll down a little bit, obviously again, follow me on Twitter if you haven't already. I'd be very much appreciative of that. This was interesting. I forgot to mention this. So we got a digital preview of, I believe this was the annual, I want to say. The annual. And it gleams some interesting information on this era, basically. But it does so in a very funny way. So I don't know whether I can zoom in on this at all. I don't think I can. But basically, I'll read it to you. So this is from Yasmin Khan's perspective. It's on a page called All About Yaz. Okay, I say they're my friends, but these guys are more like family too. This is the Doctor, and there's nobody quite like her. Brave, bold, funny, scary, and everything in between. When she's around, life is amazing, but sometimes she vanishes for months on end, and that hurts so much. I sometimes wish I'd never met her. But it's not I sometimes wish I'd never met her. I'd never met her. So there is a funny spelling little grammatical issue there, but I'm sure that'll be ironed out in future releases. But I think it's interesting to imply that Yaz is starting to feel like she sometimes wishes she'd never met her. Hopefully, we might see this in the actual show in Series 13, that'd be nice, and it might lead to an actual character conflict. That's something I think really needs to happen. I think there needs to be more character conflict in this era. It's one of my major issues. Like, the only time, to my knowledge, they've really had any crosswords, the Doctor and the Companions, is in Battle Around Square of Kolos, and that lasts all of one scene. So yeah, I'd be totally down for some more character conflict. Where's the thing I was looking for? A bit further down, bit further down, bit further down. Unless it's not here anymore, but I can't imagine it being deleted. But here we go. So Philip Morris made this tweet, and I just thought it was funny. And it says, "One photo speaks volumes. You go work, you go." Basically, he's just taken an image of the Doctors being posed with the male Doctors on one TARDIS and Jodie on the other side with her TARDIS. And what's hilarious about this is the original context of the image is literally just a toilet joke. Hang on, let me see if I can find the original poster because I know that they did mention. Aha, here we go. So the actual joke was, still queuing, lads. Don't forget to wash your hands. So it was a toilet joke, but he's basically seen this image, taken it, and gone, I could make a joke about how Jodie's the odd one out because she's a woman. Like, it doesn't really make any sense what he's trying to imply with this image. Again, they're literally just toys. He's saying one photo speaks volumes, but what does it actually speak? What does it actually say about anything? Doesn't make any sense. Philip, are you okay? Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense, but it was funny, so I thought I'd highlight that. Well, I better go now, bye. I'm conflicted because I feel for Chris and I understand why he doesn't want to come back, but I also feel when you agree to be the Doctor, you have a responsibility to the show beyond your tenure. I disagree with that. I don't think you do. I think, ultimately, whilst Doctor Who is more than a show to a lot of people, you know, I don't feel like actors are obliged to stay and do things beyond their contracts. You know, at the end of the day, it is a TV show. You know what I mean? I don't think it should be held to any different standard as any other show. Haunting ability to die, best conflict of the Triple A. True. Oh yeah, that is true actually. I didn't even think about that. But you are right. That is the best conflict of the era. You are correct. Woke is such a buzzword now, and it has lost all meaning. Whenever I get woke go broke, I just switch off and press the block button. Yep, that's probably the best thing to do. I'd love to see more ability darty angrier that 13 showed under the surface. By the way, that Dragon Con video is now my recommended. Imagine Chris Chibnall writing an interesting and realistic character dynamic between the Doctor and her companions. Never gonna happen. True. Yeah, I don't know. Choice show who the Doctor and who's not, apparently. But luckily everyone thought that was just silly, that whole thing. I don't believe there's been much other news unless there's been a new tweet from look, we got a Jenny audio. There we go. There's some new news for you. I got to ask, right, and this is just from an outside perspective. There was a car outside. Sorry, the window's still open because it's too hot. But did anyone ever really ask for like a Jenny spin-off? Was that anything anyone ever wanted? Like, I just want to know, like, what was the... You know, was there a demand for that? I guess, maybe. But more so a TV show thing. I don't know. I mean, fair enough if you want it, but I don't know whether there was much of a demand for that originally. Agreed. As far as I'm concerned, woke was never a meaningful word anyway. It just seems to mean anything I don't like. Yeah, pretty much. Spot on. I also, a little bit of a side note, I made a little tweet saying if this tweet gets 750 likes, I'll watch The Timeless Child for 24 hours. And I will do that if that gets 750 likes, and I'll make a video about it. Quite a grudge you've got against humanity, especially considering you used to be one. Yeah, that's one of the 13's best lines, actually. It's a really good 13 line. Chris especially has no obligation to do the show. The show put him through the hell and tried to derail his career. You wouldn't want to go back to that job if they did to you. I completely agree with that. Yeah, 100%. Wasn't Russell thinking of doing a Jenny spin-off? I think so. I just don't know, like, whether the demand there for it now, especially, 10 years later or however long ago it was. Who will win? I'm guessing you're saying Tharries there or TARDIS. I win. I beat the TARDIS. I would like to hear if it wasn't so expensive in my country. That's another thing as well. I think I've said before how I don't like sometimes how Big Finish is kind of advertised as a replacement for Doctor Who when Doctor Who isn't on. That is something I take issue with, certainly. I think I'm all for it getting promotion, but I just kind of find it depressing when it seems like it's the face of the brand at this point. And it's not accessible to Doctor Who's core, demographic, which is the family, really. Why torture yourself, Tharries? Because likes on Twitter. It's worth it. No, It's just a bit fun, really. Hi, Kathy A. Hey, Tharries. Try to do the TARDIS noise then. Something like that. Oh my god, that was actually hard for my voice to do. Jenny is a doctor. It's the only way to explain. She has her own personality. Immediately after being born, she's had side regeneration. No, I don't think so. I think she's just like, I don't think she's the doctor. She's probably just, you know, a doctor's technical relative. Jenny is now a great cameo fodder. True, because you could technically bring her back at any point with no real prerequisite. Oh yeah, this is just the doctor's daughter. Boom, done. You know, you could do a story then. I still don't get why Susan hasn't come back in the main show. That's still weird to me. I saw Eccleston and Whittaker in a stage play together. Yeah, they did do a stage play together. They were great. Sounds like you're dying inside. That's because I am. No. There was also a Rose Tile spin-off planned and greenlit, but it was folded into Series 4 storyline instead. Yeah, I heard about that. It's very, very interesting stuff. I haven't got much else news-wise to talk about, but if there's any questions you lot have for me, I'd be more than willing to answer them. If we could have a little Q&A at the end here, if any of you would be interested in that. The rule for Big Finish is any side character from the RTD era gets a spin-off. There's a spin-off from the woman from the Dead Planet. Oh yeah, Lady Christina. Yeah, that is true. Hello, Paula Frost. You're psychic there. I really am. I am psychic. I'm surprised we haven't had a fake regeneration in this era. I think it's possible with Series 13. Now that we know that Jodie's leaving, I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to do like a fake regeneration or something. It makes total sense. Rumors Series 13 is cancelled because it was saved on a USB and it's in Tomato Soup. I think that was a 5 pounds joke, was it not? So Series 13 is airing next month. Probably is the only answer I could give to that. Who will win, Tharries or Mr. TARDIS? I assume you're talking about the bet. Hopefully me, even though I do kind of want a trailer. I don't think we'll get one on the 10th. Apparently, someone said that, I don't know where this was, but someone actually said that Find the Doctor was set to end on, the 16th? I don't know where that was stated, but I saw somewhere that it was set to end then. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got a trailer then. But if Jenny isn't a side regeneration, where did her distinct personality come from? I guess like if the cloning machine, it wouldn't just completely clone their personalities of the people that they use. She would either have a soldier mind from the machine or a direct copy of 10. I don't know, maybe not, because as well you got to think the machine's not meant to clone Time Lords, it's meant to clone humans, so maybe that's why it works a bit differently. Do you think Davaross will make an appearance in the next specials? I think that's likely, yeah. Then again, I thought it was likely in Revolution, but I definitely think it would make sense completely for it to be in the final one. Just makes sense. To be fair, what else is there to market social media platforms beyond Big Finish and comics? They're given nothing from the current promotion team. I agree, but that's a bigger problem in itself. I honestly hope Chibnall makes the Angels scary again. I think the Angels, like, I don't really mind a lot of their follower parentings. I don't mind. Like, Angels Take Manhattan is the weakest one, but I don't really get this idea that like they were ruined or anything like that. I don't really agree. I think they were always fine, but I will be looking forward to seeing someone else write for them. That is something that I'm interested to see for certain. What's the latest you think Series 13 will air? I think October 31st, because we've seen the Halloween Pumpkins, which was, I believe, for the first episode, so no later than the 31st of October. I agree, Faulty TARDIS in some ways. Susan is like the Doctor's true heir. Her return would be like coming full circle. Yeah, I agree. By the way, should I sub to Confused Adipose and Mr. TARDIS? Yeah, they're friends of the channel. I mean, you know, they're not as good as me, of course. No, I'm joking. They're great. Go give them your support. I'm sure that... So tell them Tharries sent you if you're new there. Yeah, go subscribe to them as well. They're all great. Billy Piper to play Davaross's sister, Davaross. That... I shouldn't have laughed as much at that joke as I did. Well played. I like 10, but he's one of my least favourites. I'm tired of seeing him everywhere. I completely agree. Yeah. And there are better Doctors, what do you think we can do to get BBC to give more recognition to other Doctors? Honestly, I don't think there's a lot we as fans can do, really. Like, ultimately, he is just the one that, like, was the most popular at the new era. I would love for them to give more notice to other ones, but realistically, they just know that he's a cash cow, and I'm not sure whether we can do much to change that. But yeah, I do agree with you on everything else. But I think I'm going to end the stream there. A bit of a shorter one today, but thank you so much for tuning in. Wait, Eccleston won't return for the 60th? Nah, basically he said in a Comic-Con panel that he won't, which is very sad and unfortunate. But what can you do? But thank you all for tuning into this. Have you seen any anime? I haven't, but it's something that's potentially on my list for future. Angels should be used as actual assassins by a bigger villain, James Bond style. Thing is, though, I think they are big enough to carry something on their own. You know, I'd agree with you if you're talking about, like, the Jadoon, for example, but I think the Angels are good enough to carry stuff on their own. Most of the new Angel stuff is great. Only stuff I didn't like was Sting the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, I agree. Do you want to see Romana return as a man? Same with Irani. I honestly don't mind either way, man or woman, and I think that's where I'm at. I'll just say this as well. Generally, with like Doctor and Romana and Rani castings, I don't mind man or woman, whatever. That's my place on like 14th Doctor as well. Just cast whoever you want for your vision of the show, and I'll support them 100%. You know, I'll wait and see the actual product before I make a judgment on anything. Yeah, that's true. Eccleston returning. I think we all knew he wasn't going to return, but I mean, it was just sort of confirmation, that recent com panel. Stop buying 10 merch and then we'll change the attention. Yeah, I think there were like about 100 people, about 80 now, probably aren't going to change too much, even if we did stop buying it. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in to a bit of a short stream. I'll see you all soon. I don't really know how to end now. What do you think of the Valiard and Toymaker coming back? I don't know whether that's been confirmed, but I wouldn't mind it. I actually have a video that I should be recording soon, talking about what classic villains I'd like to see return in the modern show. So keep an eye out for that, as well as a video. I think I'm going to do one on Desert Island Doctor Who, based on a video by Wing Media, talking about how basically the same concept. So look out for those. Don't end yet. I've got to end soon. Sorry to the people who've just arrived. Don't worry, you'll be able to watch the stream as soon as it ends, though. Patterson Joseph would be a great 14th Doctor. Yeah, I could see it. Please don't make the Master make an army of Weeping Angels. I doubt they'll do that. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the Cyber Masters again. I'm bored of 10. I kind of agree. Goodbye, I've arrived too late. Celestial Toymaker. Yeah, there is the sort of dodgy stuff in the Celestial Toymaker's past, certainly. But you know, I think he could be modernised. Return of Omega and Rassilon. Rassilon is likely. Omega, I've said before. I think his rights are owned by somebody else outside the BBC, so I doubt he'll return anytime soon. But yeah, I think that's. I'm just trying to get through everyone's questions before I go. But thank you all for watching, and I will see you later. Goodbye, everybody.